I started at the Friendship Centre back in 1986, but actually I started sooner than that. So as an employee, it was 1986. But probably it would have been about 10 years prior to that. I started as a youth worker, volunteering to work with youth at dances and taking them to basketball tournaments. One of the things I loved about it was just the spirit that the youth brought. And I mean, I was a young person at the same time, so that they gave me a lot of pride in who I was, because that wasn't something that I had as a young person. I was raised basically outside of my community, and so didn't know what it was like to be with my community. Felt some shame, and basically because of the school system and different things that was happening there, lots of prejudice. And so when I was able to come into the Friendship Centre and be with all the young people and see how you could be proud to be who you were, it made me start to believe in myself a lot more. And so from there, I actually ended up getting a job as a waitress. I worked as a waitress for 9 years and then went back to school. And then this opportunity came. My school teacher came and asked me if I'd be interested in applying for a job at the Friendship Centre. And at first I was nervous about it. I'm like, oh, they're not going to hire me. And it was a secretary receptionist position, and I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And so I walked in and saw all the people going to be interviewed, and I went, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do this. But I stayed and went through the interview, and surprisingly enough, that night I got a phone call saying I was hired. I was shocked, absolutely shocked, because I honestly didn't think that I would get the job. And since then, I've loved the job, loved the work, loved the people that I work with. I started at 2nd Avenue, and the building was pretty dilapidated and was going to be condemned, and so the building committee had decided they wanted to build a building 10 years prior to me starting. And so a couple of months after I was employed, they started doing this building here at the Friendship Centre on 4th Avenue. And it took less than a year, and we erected this beautiful building. I was the secretary receptionist here, then ended up becoming the bookkeeper. And after that, I became the legal information counselor. So kind of one of the things that I love about the center is that there's always room to move up, and people always believe in you. And the love from the community too. That was something that I've always felt very connected to. After becoming the legal information counselor, I was approached by a number of staff saying the executive director position had come up. And they said, you'd be perfect for it. I'm going, no. I didn't think that would be a job for me at all. And they finally talked me into it. So I said, okay. And I applied for it. And I got the job, and I was so shocked. I really didn't think I would get it. That would have been almost 18 years ago now. I said at that time I would try it for 5 years. And I think, like most people in the Friendship Centre movement, once it gets into your heart, it's really hard to leave. It's just, it's a family, and there's a special connection to the people. And yeah, it doesn't feel like a job. As busy as I am, it doesn't feel like a job. And through my days, I think, of being here, I've been mentored by so many people. Elders, people that Cy and Julia Lucas, two great people that I've been very fortunate to have in my life, who are very strong in the culture and very big believers about the Friendship Centre as well. Cy was actually one of the founding members of the Friendship Centre, and his wife always supporting him and being there, probably the one who gives him all his advice that he has, and for sure culturally, because she's very strong in her culture. And I know that's really helped me in terms of making some of my decisions. But I mean, again, other elders that probably come to mind would be George and Ruth Cook. I remember going to my very first quarterly meeting as the executive director, extremely nervous and probably a bit insecure about my job, in terms of being able to do a good job, because I was new at it. And he welcomed me with open arms into the movement, and has always been there for me, him and George, or him and Ruth. And I think every time I feel nervous about anything or feel a sense of insecurity, I always look at the two of them for that direction and that energy, and always appreciate them being there. So one of the things that I've always found really important in the work that we do as friendship centers is to build good relationships and understanding. And I know that in the past we've had some misunderstandings, and a lot of it's because of miscommunication, not being able to take the time to meet with people and to really have words and build a strong understanding of why the Friendship Center is here and who we're serving. And I can probably talk to, just some of the chiefs that I've worked with in the past through the Tribal Council, for instance, and who have been very, very supportive of us. But there's been times where there's been some misunderstandings in terms of the work that we do and the work that we share. And I think what's really important is that always including our people in the work that we do, and always providing that face-to-face, heart-to-heart conversation with people, and to understand that everyone has an opinion, everyone has needs, and to be open to that. And so building those relationships isn't just about getting to know each other, but also being able to work together collaboratively, taking time to understand the other person's needs, also knowing that we're there for the same reason. I think that we're all doing that work for the people. And I know one of the things that one of my elders has said to me is that our people are not necessarily living on and off reserve, they're living away from home. And that's really struck a chord with me, the living away from home, because I've always felt the unity was very important. I think that what separated us was government policies, was the status, non-status, that it made people feel like somehow they were separated. And then it sort of just threw us in that we had to feel separated in order to receive funding for certain things. But I think if we work together and we really are clear about why we're there, always saying that we're there for the people, for our brothers and sisters, that would be the thing that moves us forward. And I think that's the change that I've seen since I started here, because one time we were working on a strategy, and it was, I'm trying to remember if it was called the President's Council, I think that's what it was called. And everyone's intentions were very well-meaning, but because of some misunderstandings, there started to be a bit of a separation. And once people became clear that our work, our goal was all the same, I saw a change in people. I saw a change in our chiefs' minds, and where they said, those are our people too. We need to take care of them. And so now it's working on the government side. It's just really getting them to, establish that responsibilities for their people. We're actually part of their government. It's not just the responsibilities of the feds, it's the responsibilities of the province to take care of the people. And we're there, we elect them as well. And so somehow they need to get on board and also not separate us, somehow work together and not work in silos. And I think one of the things that Scott Fraser said, that's important. He's there to help everyone, not just one side of it. And I know that if people become less competitive, which I think I see happening, there's less competition and more working in partnership, that we will be able to move forward, and that 40 years from now, at the next anniversary of the BC Association on the 80th, we're going to be a very solidified, very healthy organization, working together with no separation. That's my belief. And I've always believed that. I've always believed that working together is the answer. And that sometimes people get upset, some people get angry. But you know what? Once they understand, or once we accept that they have that, and that, you know, it's okay to be upset about certain things and just accept that people have opinions, that we can move forward from that and not allow the negativity to control us, but always to stay on the positive track. And I think that's one of the things that I learned from my elders, is that always to pray to the Creator, and He will guide you in the right direction and always make that positive path for all of us. So one of the sayings of one of our very special elders was "Nit was," which means it belongs to all of us. That's what I believe the Friendship Centre is a place that belongs to all of us.